But we're now on Daf Chav Daled Amud Beis, and now we're going to take a look at a pasuk in Divrei Yomim, which speaks about the singers who had to sing with a proper pitch in order to integrate their voices together with the entire ensemble of the Levium. And any Levi who was incapable of doing so was excluded from Avodas HaLeviim. And that's going to be at the age of 50. So it says, "Vayihi ke'echad lamachatzitzrim v'lameshorim lashmiya kol echad." Do you see those words, lashmiya kol echad, that they could project their voice and integrate their pitch together with the entire ensemble? Now, the Rambam in Hilchas Klei HaMikdash Perek Gimel has a radical shita here, and he says it's not all or nothing. Even though at the age of 50 they're excluded from being Mishorim, but they could still be Mishorim. They could still be the gatekeepers. Not only that, the Rambam goes even one step further. Even though they can't sing in the harmony together with the ensemble, but nevertheless they could play an instrument. Anyway, Achi Yazkim, what's the oldest age, for a Kohen? Ad Kama, Omar Rabbi Allah, Omar Rabbi Chanina. It's not a set age for all Kohanim, but rather Ad Sheyirates, until he cannot keep his hand steady. He got so old that he shakes. And if he shakes, let's say he's holding on to the mizrak that has the dam in it, he might, because of his shaky hands, he might spill the dam on the Ritzbas HaZorah. Tanan Hassam. And now we're quoting a Mishnah in Masechta Mikvos. Balkeri shetaval v'lo hitil mayim l'ksheyatil tameh. All right, once we pick up the subject of old age and its, and its confinements, then we're going to talk about the urination problem. We call it today the prostate. And we have a Mishnah that discusses a Balkeri. And the question is, when he jumps into the mikveh, does he still have a seminal emission? I mean, maybe there's still some semen that was not removed, did not go out of the body. And it all depends. If he did not urinate after he had a seminal emission, because presumably the urination would carry out of his body all the extra, shirayim of semen, then if he hasn't done that, then he's not going to be tar by jumping into the mikvah. L'shiyatil tameh. Meaning, l'shiyatil, if he postpones his urination till after he was tovel, then he remains tameh. Because we're assuming that even though he went to mikvah, but now he urinated, and his urination is going to bring out some of the semen, he's again a Baal Keri. However, Rabbi Yossi limits this, and he says, "Bechola b'zakein tameh, b'yeled u'b'bari tar." Right? In the case of a young, healthy man, he doesn't have prostate problems, so we can assume that even though he did not urinate, we assume that all the zera went out of his body. But in the case of an older person, or alternatively a sick person, then he's tameh if he postpones urination till after he goes to the mikvah. Yelid and kama. And the question is, when do you consider him a yeled? And the Gemara comes up with a very strange shiur, a very strange, identification of that time period. Omer Abdullah, Omer B'chnin. Kol sha'omed al raglo achas. He's capable of what we call balancing. Right? Today, in the world of exercises, they put up right up front balancing exercises for older people. Too many people, when they reach my
So
age, they slip and fall. So he's
that
open
that
al
means
raglo achas. Imagine he's standing on one foot. I don't know too many young people who could pull this off. V'cholesh min olav, and he can take off his shoe. V'nol min olav, and while he's standing, excuse me, on one leg,
wonderful.
he's able to tie his shoe. Ira, you're a young man. Could you do that?
Yeah, probably not. Does does that mean he had gone to the washroom, or that means he had not?
He hadn't gone to the washroom. He didn't urinate.
Okay,
But he's young. He can do this balancing act.
I see. So
And
yeah, yeah,
if
okay,
he's so young and powerful that he could do this balancing act, and old age
right,
has not crept up on him, then he doesn't need to
right,
urinate. Or alternatively, let him urinate after he comes out of the mikveh.
right.
And
Okay.
he's taught. This guy was a tough character. He was 80 years old. And he could put on his shoe while he's standing on one foot. Amar Rabbi Chanina. And this Rabbi Hanina made the following declaration: Chamin v'shemen shesachatni imi bialdus ein she'amali v'esakuni. Why am I so strong? What's the secret to my strength? My mother applied onto my body shemen, right? She would massage my body with hot water and oil. I hope it wasn't too hot because oil could burn the living daylights out of you. And as a result of this medical procedure that my mother, he was able to be so strong. Now, honestly, I don't know. Okay, maybe we could Google this. I don't know that these are medical. Anyway, Taner Rabbanon, Nismales Kano, a man has already a full beard. Royally also shliach tzibur. He could be the shliach tzibur. Valeri lifnei teva. Now shliach tzibur means he's like the gabbai on behalf of the tzibur, and leiri lifnei teva means he could be a shatz. Lisas kappa, if he's a kohen, he could be nosei kappa. The word nosei means to lift up your hands. It's not enough to put your hands down. That's not. You have to lift them up. And me'emasai koshel avoda. But if you ask me, at what point can the kohen be eligible for the avodah in the mikdash? You don't have to wait until he's nismal. He has a beard that's full out, but mishiyavishtei saros, he has two pubic hairs, and you have to add that he is already 13 years old. And Rabbi Omer Ani, which is a very famous, very straight, a very unique and rare kind of phrase that only applies to Rebbe Omer Ani. Ad Sheyehei ben Esrei. What does that mean? Does that mean a Kohen can't work in the Mikdash when he's bar mitzvah? Has to wait till he's 20? Rav Chisda, my time of the Rebbe, Tichsiv vayamidu es halavim. Okay, so the word Levium here means Kohanim, because Kohanim are also Levium. Mi ben esrim shana v'mala natseach amalechas beis Hashem. So you see that only at the age of 20 did they serve in the Mikdash. V'idach, and what is the other Tana who disagrees with Rebbe and holds that from the age of Bar Mitzvah, Shtei Saras, they could already serve in the Mikdash? L'natzeach shayni. L'natzeach here, in this context, means to supervise. And it requires a certain element of maturity and experience, life experience, in order to supply that, to fill that role as to supervise. And therefore, they would have to wait until they were 20 years old to be supervised. But as far as the regular day-to-day avoda, then you don't have to wait until they're 20 years old. They could do the avoda already at the age of bar mitzvah. So the Gemara asks for high krab Levium ksiv. Okay, that's why I told you before that the word Levium in Tanakh more than once, more than 24 times means Kohanim. Kid Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the Omer Yeshua ben Levi, be Esrim v'Arba Makomos Nekro Kohanim Levium. In 24 places in the Tanakh, the Kohanim are called by the name Levium. Zeh echad mehem haKohanim haLeviim b'nei Tzadok. Now, okay, you've demonstrated that the word Kohanim, the word Levium refers to the Kohen, but why then does the Torah sometimes call them Kohanim and other times call them Levium? This I couldn't figure out. Anyway, Tana Rabbana, we learned in the Brisa, Ish, now we're going to have a whole nother pshat in Rebbe. Ish mizaracha lidorosam. Right, this pasuk is in Vayikra Chaf Aleph. Ish mizaracha lidorosam asher yeh bo mum lo yikrav la'akriv lechem elokav, which means that an ish, we'll see what the word ish means here in this context, is only disqualified if he has a blemish. Mikanom Rab Lazar cut and puzzle avoda. Ish is telling you that if he's already matured and he's reached the age of godless and he's 13, etc., etc., then he could serve in the avoda unless he's a balmum. But a cotton is puzzle from the get-go. Vafilu tam, even if he's physically fine and healthy and perfect. Memasai koshel avoda. And here again, we get back to the Machlokas Shin Rebbe and the Chachamim. What is the minimum age for the Kohen to do the Avodah? He can't be a Katan, but Mishiyav Ishtei Saras, he's already got Avol Echav. HaKohanim Ein Manichem Oso Lavod. Here's a new pshat in Rebbe. Rebbe was not saying that a Kohen who's less than 20 years old is possible. No. Even Rebbe knows very well that he's kosher at the age of Bar Mitzvah. What did Rebbe mean when he said that he won't do the avodah until he's 20, minimum 20 years old? That's because Echav HaKohanim Ein Manichem Oso Lavod. There's an objection on the part of the union. The union is objecting. The union of Kohanim say, we don't want this young boy serving with us in the Mikdash, and therefore Ad Sheyehei Ben Chaf. Honestly, it disturbs me. I don't understand. I'm perplexed. Why is it that the Kohanim could join together and
Right.
determine that this young boy who's only 13 in a day cannot serve in the Mikdash with them because it's like demeaning to the Kohanim? I don't get it. Some say, Ha Rebbe he. This is a new interpretation of Rebbe, and when Rebbe said that a Kohen is invalid until he gets the age of 20, I feel psul d'rabbanan lesle. Rebbe holds that the Kohen is not possible at all, even min rabbanan. It's only a matter of putting a smile on the faces of the Kohanim. The Yikadiyami brothers say Rebbe islay psul b'rabbanan. Rebbe holds that if the Kohen is only bar mitzvah, then rabbinically he's disqualified, which again is something that requires a lot more study because I don't know how you could create a psul d'rabbanan of a Kohen. I guess it means they wouldn't let him go into the Mikdash to serve. V'ha rabbanan he. The rabbanan say that once the Kohen reaches the age of bar mitzvah, he is qualified, and they didn't even accept a rabbinic disqualification for a katan. And this, this particular brisa is reflecting the Shit Chacham to tell you that you know what, we want the kohanim to be happy. We won't let them do the avodah. There's no psul of a katan, and therefore his avodah is certainly kshera according to the Chacham. Okay, then this leads us to the Mishnah here, the last Mishnah on Daf Chaf Daled Amud Beis about Kli Cheres in Kabbalah's Tumah, as opposed in contrast to all the other Kalim, and the two nafkaminas because the Kli Cheres has to be a receptacle; it can't be pshutim, and a Kli Cheres because it's not expensive, it's not so fancy, and so forth and so on. Therefore, even if you didn't adorn it, but you just manufactured it in such a way that it has the receptacle the size and it has a hollow and therefore it's functional, that's enough for it to be makabel tumah. And the exact opposite is true in the case of a kli mateches, a metal keli, which is supposed to be a matter of prestige, and it's very expensive in those days to create metal kalim was a whole to do, and therefore until you adorn it and you put on the studs and all the beautiful aesthetic additions, it's not called a kli. It's called golmin, and it's not makabel tumah. But on the other hand, even if it's pshute kli mateches, means you have a kli mateches that's absolutely flat, like a spatula, then it's makabel tuma. Okay, then. So this is where we'll stop for today, and
Okay, shkoyach.
I wish you a great week.
Yeah, have a good week.